Hello, let us guide you through the intricacies of the blade trap Trickster. Trickster is an ascendancy poorly defined by its offensive abilities, but one with much more pronounced defenses. It can be used to create some unique builds that need to be tanky due to their delay in damage delivery or close range. That's where the blade trap builds might flourish. Trap builds often struggle with the fact that the damage is not delivered fast enough, so the enemies in proximity might have a chance to attack and kill the character. It's not happening here. The build is tanky with over 10,000 of energy shield on top of other defensive layers. The damage of blade trap, the only attack trap in the game, is correlated with the weapon but doesn't benefit from attack speed. Their attack rate is fixed. Because of that, you can focus only on the damage of your weapon, the ephemeral edge sword. This sword's damage scales up with your ES. With patch 3.22, we added volatility support that adds 70% more maximum damage with basically no downside since your minimum damage is so low. We've also selected many more unique items as core elements of the build, making it cheaper and more accessible. Only forbidden jewels are now very pricey. Ephemeral edge adds lightning damage to your attacks sourced directly from energy shield, which in turn justifies accumulating enormous quantities of this resource, over 10,000. 20% of it, so 2,000, will be granted to your sword as the maximum possible damage it can deal. The build has tons of evasion, energy shield, and spell suppression, making it already nearly an impenetrable barrier. Only physical damage may be an issue, but the raw ES should be enough to stop any such hit. You have also an excellent recovery with Polymath, Pyromaniac, and Zealot's Oath. Clear speed is not really good. The traps have a short range and activate after a delay. Single target damage is good. It can handle all the content due to its durability, it just takes a while. The starting price is low, but some specific upgrades are expensive. We've tried to cut the costs of gearing up here to a minimum, using cheap unique items and combining them with meager rares which can be obtained at a very low price. Use uniques such as Ephemeral Edge, Esh's Visage, Ghostride, Presence of Chayula, and Anathema. They're reasonably priced. Ephemeral Edge weapon is much better than any rare or even unique one once you reach a high enough maximum energy shield. The low attack speed does not apply to blade trap. Esh's Visage is pretty much mandatory unless you have other ways to make your chaos damage not affect your life pool. You have around 200 life, so any chaos damage will kill you very quickly. Make sure that less than 50% of your life is reserved or it won't work. Ghostride is the best in slot armor. It adds tons of chaos resistance, ES, and converts your useless life to energy shield. Sin Trek boots have a lot of movement speed, attributes, evasion rating, and energy shield. It's usually the best in slot choice unless you lack attributes, suppression, or resistances. Bated Breath is one of the best belts for an additional energy shield and its recharge rate. Ascent from Flesh Belt grants a lot of energy shield, evasion rating, and phasing bonuses. It also triggers the phasing buff quite often. The Presence of Chayula converts more of your life to ES, much like Ghostride. It also grants tons of chaos resistance and stun immunity. Anathema allows you to apply 3 curses instead of 1 by default. It can be extended to 5 by spending just 3 skill points on instability and infused. You're looking for the perfect crime on your forbidden jewels. Chain Reaction is fine too as a second choice. Perfect Crime regenerates your ES, and without it, you rely solely on ES on kill from Polymath and default recharge, and it's often not enough. You're using Wrath, Grace, Discipline, Vitality, Clarity, and Precision. Precision can get you increased damage. Grace and Discipline have predominantly defensive mods. Wrath is great for penetration. Over 50% of spell suppression chance can be gathered from the skill tree, the rest should be obtained from gear. Evasion rating and energy shield are important too. Remember to get some extra accuracy on gloves or a helmet. If you struggle with mana sustain, aim for reduced mana cost of skills. Lightning exposure will be sourced from an Eldritch mod on gloves. Helmet. Aim for as much energy shield as you can afford. In addition to that, try to get elemental resistances, accuracy, attributes, mana reservation efficiency, and spell suppression chance. Boots can get you movement speed, energy shield, elemental resistances, evasion, spell suppression chance, and exotic mobility buffs. Gloves can be a good source of accuracy, energy shield, spell suppression chance, attributes, and added lightning damage to attacks. Craft the Eldritch mod that applies lightning exposure on hit. Rare belt is to be used if you struggle with strength, as it's one of the most common mods here. Energy shield and resistances are here too. Rings are very similar to amulets in terms of modifiers offered. Also look for a curse on hit and accuracy if you can afford it. Jewels are great for the miscellaneous missing stats and minor upgrades, such as energy shield and critical strike modifiers. Bottled Faith is a big boost to your damage and critical strike chance. It creates consecrated ground on use. Get quartz, topaz, and ruby or sapphire flasks to take less elemental damage or to gain more spell suppression. We've used only 3 to benefit from the trader and have them up at all times. Their suffixes should grant you evasion, reduced mana cost, and reduced effect of curses. Maybe elemental resistances. Blade Trap is a spinning contraption that can hit 8 times and lasts 4 seconds. Its damage is based on that of your weapon. Link it with volatility, charged traps, elemental focus, lightning penetration, and inspiration support gems. Arcanist Brand will trigger all linked spells once attached to an enemy. Use it during boss fights. These spells are curses. Conductivity to lower lightning resistance, Assassin's Mark for an increased critical strike chance and multiplier, and Temporal Chains, it slows down your enemies. You may also use curses like Punishment, Enfeeble, or Elemental Weakness here instead, or additionally. Arctic Armor makes you take less physical and fire damage while stationary. You're tanky and you can afford to be stationary most of the time during boss fights. You don't really use your life, you have around 400 of it, so you may as well spend it on auras by linking it with Arrogance. Just don't reserve more than half of your life. Steelskin is the only suitable guard spell here. It reduces damage taken for a short time and stops bleeding. Grace adds and increases your evasion rating. Discipline grants you more energy shield and a faster recovery rate. Skitterbots, besides applying chill and shock to enemies, also grant you more trap damage. Link these 3 with Enlightened support to reserve less mana. Wrath. In this build, it adds lightning damage to attacks. Use Precision for more accuracy rating and increased critical strike chance. Link these to Enlightened too. Use level 1 Vitality for the bonus from Reservation Mastery. Use level 1 Clarity for the same reason. Use 1 Bear Trap during boss fights. Enemies affected by it take increased trap damage and have greatly reduced movement speed. Flame Dash can be used to improve your mobility, it allows you to teleport. With Aspect of the Spider, nearby enemies take increased damage and are hindered. This effect stacks up to 3 times. Kill all 3 bandits, you will need these 2 skill points the most. For a major god, choose Solaris. It's a character primarily for bossing and one-on-one fights, and this option definitely helps there, especially with elemental damage and critical strikes. Soul of Tukahama is the best minor god given you can stand still for 3 seconds. It grants physical damage reduction, which is the most prized defensive layer in this build. On the passive skill tree, we will need tons of reservation efficiency, sourced from clusters with charisma, influence, and sovereignty. Energy shield, block chance, intelligence, spell suppression, lightning damage, and of course trap nodes will be of considerable value too. For keystones, pick Zealot's Oath and Ghost Dance. Allocate 2 reservation masteries, 1 for increased damage per aura, and 1 for increased effect of auras. For shield mastery, pick increased crit multiplier per energy shield on your shield. For energy shield mastery, allocate increased energy shield from helmet. For suppression mastery, spell suppression chance is lucky. For attribute mastery, extra intelligence per mastery. For trap mastery, Chance to throw additional traps. For lightning mastery, increased crit chance against enemies with lightning exposure. For mana mastery, increased mana reservation efficiency, and for evasion and energy shield mastery, increased evasion while you have energy shield. That is all there is to it. Thank you for your attention. Like the video and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.